I mean, imagine you're just looking at a tourist, right? Like they're just checking a map on the street.
Right. Totally normal.
Yeah, totally normal. But instead of seeing a person, you look at them and you see like a winning lottery ticket, literally a walking, breathing stack of cash.
It's wild. It's really wild.
So welcome to Sip and Talk. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Honestly, no matter what time zone you're tuning in from today. I am just thrilled to be here with you, our amazing Sip and Talkers. Got a fresh cup of coffee here, and we have a truly mind-bending topic today. Like, does anyone else feel like the air suddenly smells like, I don't know, reporting your neighbors?
Oh, absolutely. It's like something straight out of a really dark, speculative fiction novel.
Totally.
And, you know, that specific stack of cash you were just talking about, we're talking about roughly 500,000 RMB, which, if you convert that, it translates to about 70,000 US dollars. Which
is life-changing money for a lot of people.
Exactly. And so our mission today for this conversation is to basically look under the hood of this massive spy-catching fever that is just completely sweeping across China right now.
Yeah.
And just to set the ground rules right up front, you know, we aren't here to take political sides at all. We are just looking at this through an international, sociological, and, quite frankly, an economic lens.
Right. We want to understand the mechanics here.
Yeah.
Like, what actually happens to a society when a government decides to just, you know, gamify national security?
Gamify is the perfect word for it. Because to understand why regular citizens are suddenly out on the streets, like actively hunting for international spies, we have to look at the legal foundation.
Right.
We have to see how the actual legal definition of a spy has completely fundamentally shifted.
Because it used to be so specific. Like, how did we get to a point where simply taking a photo of a cool building makes you a suspect?
Well, the foundation for all this was actually laid back in 2017. That is when the Beijing State Security Bureau first launched this specific reward system. They started offering that 500,000 RMB bounty for, quote-unquote, outstanding contributions in spotting spies.
Wait, so it started just in Beijing?
Yeah, originally it was a hyper-local initiative right in the capital. But by 2022, we saw this massive national rollout. And then came the true turning point, the structural mechanism that made this so potent.
The 2023 revision, right?
Exactly. The 2023 revision of China's anti-espionage law, they expanded the law significantly, going from 44 articles to 71.
And the wording of those new articles, I mean, that is where the trap is totally set. Because historically, when you and I think of espionage, it means stealing classified military secrets, right?
Right, James Bond stuff.
Exactly. You think of blueprints for a nuclear submarine or troop movements, satellite codes, whatever.
Yeah.
But the new law expanded the definition to include, and I'm quoting here, documents, data, materials, or items related to national security and interests.
Related to national security and interests.
I mean, come on. That is essentially a rubber band law. You can stretch that phrasing to fit literally anything.
Anything you want.
If the definition is that vague, could, like, a highly profitable boba tea recipe suddenly be classified as a state secret just because a local official decides it's a core economic interest?
Honestly, yes.
It's less like traditional espionage and more like an open source bug bounty program for human behavior, except the definition of a bug changes entirely depending on who is reviewing the code that day.
That is a great way to put it. I really like the bug bounty analogy, but let's be super precise about the legal mechanism at play here.
Okay, lay it on me.
Legal scholars actually refer to this as a pocket crime.
A pocket crime?
Yeah, it's a catch-all legal clause. You can essentially just put anything into that pocket if it serves the state's immediate needs. The ambiguity of the phrasing, it isn't a drafting error, it's not some oversight.
The ambiguity is a feature, not a bug.
Exactly. The ambiguity is the entire point of the legislation. It grants the state this ultimate, unquestionable interpretive power over everyday data. If the line between what is legal and illegal is kept intentionally blurry, the government retains absolute power to decide who has crossed it.
Wow. But, you know, a vague law is practically useless without a massive enforcement mechanism. And the state obviously can't afford to put a police officer on every single street corner to enforce a pocket crime.
No, the overhead would be insane.
Right. So they had to outsource the surveillance. They had to turn the public into the censors. And that gave birth to one of the, frankly, darkest internet memes I have ever seen.
You're talking about the walking 500,000.
Yes, the walking 500K. It is just so dystopian.
Yeah, or Jingzhu de Wuxiwan, as it's known there. It really started as this dark joke online, but it mutated. It mutated into a very real, very dangerous weapon. It's used constantly now to mock or even actively threaten dissidents, foreign business people, journalists, you name it.
But I guess my question is, why are people so eager to play along? I think we really have to look closely at the macroeconomic reality of 2026 to understand that.
Oh, for sure. The economic context is everything here.
Because the economic downturn is severe right now. Youth unemployment has been this structural nightmare. So when the government dangles 500,000 RMB, it isn't just like a pat on the back for being a good citizen.
No, not at all.
For a vast majority of the population, $70,000 is completely life-changing money. It's a down payment on an apartment. It's a literal lottery ticket out of this economic stagnation.
It's an incredibly potent mix of incentives. You are taking high-minded patriotism and tying it directly to a massive, tangible financial reward during an acute economic crunch. And look, the data shows it works. Just look at April 2026 during their National Security Education Day. Officially, 103 people were rewarded for providing tips.
103 people. That's crazy.
Yeah, that proves the system isn't just some theoretical scare tactic. It is an active, functioning apparatus that is actually paying out dividends to regular citizens.
And the technology makes it so dangerously frictionless, too. Like, they launched that 12339 hotline along with these official one-click reporting apps.
The UI on those is terrifyingly simple.
It is. You see someone suspicious, you pull out your phone, tap the screen a couple of times, and boom, the report is filed. It's instantaneous. Honestly, looking at how neighbors are turning on each other, it feels a bit like a digital upgrade of the Cultural Revolution. Just a modern app-based version of ideological purges, like a real-life episode of Black Mirror.
Well, I wouldn't go quite that far with the comparison, to be fair.
No.
The Cultural Revolution was fundamentally this massive ideological and political purge driven by sheer fanaticism, factional warfare. What we are seeing now in 2026 is actually quite different.
So
This is a highly calculated economic transaction veiled as patriotism. It is, by definition, a system of low-cost, crowdsourced stability maintenance.
Okay, unpack that for me. What do you mean by low cost?
Well, think about the asymmetrical risk and fight here. The state has created a system where the accuser risks absolutely nothing.
Right. Zero friction.
Exactly. They can remain entirely anonymous, tap a button on an app, and potentially win 500,000 RMB. It cost them zero social or financial capital. But the accused, they face an absolute nightmare.
Because they have to prove they aren't a spy.
Precisely. The moment that anonymous tip is filed, the accused is forced to carry the terrifying burden of proving a negative. And how do you conclusively prove to a massive security apparatus that you aren't a spy?
You can't.
Especially when the definition of espionage is a pocket crime that literally shifts based on the investigator's mood that day.
It's a closed loop of paranoia.
Yeah.
And human nature being what it is, when you introduce a zero-cost reporting system, people are inevitably going to use it for petty revenge.
Oh, human nature guarantees it.
Right, workplace rivalries where someone wants a promotion or, a neighbor who plays their music too loud. And what about a really bad breakup? Like, oh, you're breaking up with me. Well, have fun explaining your internet browser history and your foreign friends to the Ministry of State Security.
It's terrifying. Which leads directly to the catastrophic unintended consequences of this policy. You might successfully create this hyper-vigilant domestic population, but the blowback on the broader economy and the country's international standing is severe.
Yeah, the economic side of this is wild.
We are witnessing a massive chilling effect on foreign direct investment right now. Multinational corporations are just terrified to operate normally.
Let's walk through the mechanics of that, because if you are, say, an American or European firm looking to invest in a Chinese supply chain, maybe an EV battery startup, right?
Right, a totally normal tech investment.
You have to do market due diligence. That's just business 101. You have to audit their factories, check their financials, verify their data.
Exactly. But under the expanded 2023 law, gathering that basic corporate data and sending it to a headquarters in New York or London suddenly looks an awful lot like gathering materials related to national security. So companies are just paralyzed. They are sitting in boardrooms asking, are our analysts and consultants going to be arrested just for doing standard market research? The cost of doing business has skyrocketed because the legal risk is completely unquantifiable.
And with things like the GPS Act happening globally, the pressure is already so high. The paranoia is spilling over into a full-blown digital information war, too.
Oh, the online battle is fascinating.
It really is. By early 2026, we saw the battleground move directly onto social media platforms like X and YouTube. The CIA actually started releasing these highly produced Chinese language recruitment videos.
Yeah, I saw those.
Basically broadcasting, hey, We know you're unhappy with the economic situation. We know you're frustrated. Come talk to us on the dark web.
And the response from China's Ministry of State Security, the MSS, was so telling. They didn't just block the videos behind the firewall. They fired back with their own bizarre AI-generated counter videos.
Docking American political corruption, right?
Exactly. They are actively engaging in this tit-for-tat on Western platforms, trying to control the narrative for the diaspora and international students. It's literal spy versus spy theater playing out right in our social media feeds.
It's crazy, but they are also pushing it domestically right down to the youngest demographics. Like in early 2026, the Ministry of Education began heavily integrating anti-spy curriculums into primary schools.
Primary schools?
Yeah. They have young children being taught how to identify suspicious behavior in adults, including their own family members.
And that is where the structural damage to the society really accelerates. And honestly, it highlights the staggering paradox in their current governance model.
What do you mean?
Well, at the exact same time the government is promoting this 500,000 RMB reward for catching foreign spies, they're also desperately trying to clean up their domestic financial markets to attract those very same foreign investors. They are actually offering up to 1 million RMB for reporting corporate financial crimes.
Wait. So let me get this straight. The state is screaming, report financial fraud so our markets look safe for foreign investors, while simultaneously screaming, report anyone who talks to a foreign investor because they might be a spy.
That is exactly what is happening.
It's a complete catch-22. How can an economy possibly innovate or attract capital if everyone is terrified of communicating with the outside world?
They can't. They simply can't. And this is where we see the death of social capital.
Social capital?
Yeah, social capital is basically the invisible infrastructure of trust that allows a society and a free market to function smoothly. It's the trust between business partners, between researchers, between neighbors.
Right.
When you tie national patriotism to a bounty hunting system, you actively destroy that trust. You might create a secure environment from the strict perspective of the state, but it becomes this isolated, sterile island. Innovation requires the free flow of ideas and a tolerance for risk. Both of those are killed by paranoia.
That makes total sense. But, I want to ground this for a second.
Why?
Because talking about foreign direct investment and macroeconomic paradoxes can feel a little bit removed from daily life.
Fair enough.
To truly grasp the psychological weight of this policy, we need to look at what this means for an ordinary person just living their life.
Right.
I want you, the listener right now, to put yourself in this scenario based on actual reports we've seen from the ground.
Okay, let's walk through it. Set the scene.
All right. Imagine you are just a regular local resident. You've had a long day at work, you're walking home, and the weather is beautiful. And you walk past a brand new, architecturally stunning building in your hometown. The sunset is hitting the glass perfectly. It just looks really cool. So you pull out your smartphone to take a quick photo. Nothing crazy, just something for your camera roll or maybe your Instagram story.
I mean, literally the most mundane action imaginable in modern life. Everyone does it.
Exactly. But suddenly, a vigilant, older woman walking her dog stops and yells at you, "Hey, what are you taking pictures of?" Her voice is loud. A crowd immediately starts to gather around you. Someone in the back whips out their phone and starts recording your face. Another person yells, "They're mapping our infrastructure. Call 12339.
Wow. Notice how instantly the social dynamic flips there. It goes from just passive coexistence to active hostility in seconds.
Seconds, and the panic sets in. Your heart is pounding. You know you haven't done anything wrong, but you suddenly realize that any hesitation, any stutter, any defensive tone in your voice is going to be framed as guilt by this mob.
Right, because they're already primed to see you as a threat.
Exactly. The crowd around you isn't interested in your explanation. Their motivation is this toxic cocktail of weaponized, state-sanctioned righteousness and, of course, the dangling carrot of a 500,000 RMB payout. You were suddenly fighting for your freedom over a photo of a building.
It's deeply unsettling. And if we break this down to first principles, we uncover the most chilling aspect of this entire system.
Okay, lay the first principles out for me.
Well, first principles thinking requires us to look at the foundational truths of a scenario, right? The foundational truth of any healthy society is trust. Trust reduces friction. It allows people to cooperate, trade, and just live peacefully.
Yeah, without trust, everything breaks down.
Exactly. Now, the state claims this surveillance policy is designed to protect national security. But when a policy intentionally turns neighbors against each other and incentivizes extreme society-wide paranoia, we have to ask, who is actually being protected here.
Right, because it certainly isn't protecting the mental health or the safety of the regular citizens on the street.
Precisely. By turning citizens into millions of localized sensors, the state doesn't just catch the occasional real spy. The actual structural outcome is that the state proactively destroys localized trust networks. Think about it. If you cannot trust your neighbor or your coworker or the person walking down the street, you cannot organize. You cannot form independent civic groups. The friction between individuals becomes so incredibly high that collective action against the state becomes structurally impossible. So the policy doesn't actually protect the people. It provides ultimate convenience and unchallengeable control for the managers of that society.
Man, let me just take a sip of this coffee.
Yeah.
Because sitting with that thought, the reality is just incredibly heavy.
It really is.
We can sit here and look at X or YouTube and laugh at the absurdity of the walking 500K internet meme, but the truth on the ground is tragic. It steals something fundamentally human.
Yeah, that basic human connection.
Right. When the default setting of your entire community is violently switched from trust to suspicion, you lose the simple joy of being able to smile at a stranger or strike up a conversation at a coffee shop without silently calculating the legal risk of your words.
It's a profound loss. And it leaves us with one final, very provocative thought to consider today.
What's that?
When you look at the sheer scale of this domestic mobilization, all the apps, the primary school curriculums, the massive bounties, you really have to ask yourself, is the foreign threat genuinely as pervasive as these campaigns claim?
Oh, I see where you're going. Or is it a carefully constructed straw man?
Exactly. Is it a specter intentionally designed to absorb and distract the public's attention? I mean, when youth unemployment is soaring and the real estate market is struggling and people are anxious about their futures, pointing the finger at this invisible army of foreign spies is an incredibly effective way to redirect domestic anger. It redirects it away from internal economic failures.
That is the ultimate question right there, because if everyone is looking outward for the enemy, nobody's looking upward at the structural issues. But to everyone listening, remember this. Logic is always the best antidote to fear.
Totally agree.
When any system tries to whip up panic, whether it's through a meme, a hotline, or a social media algorithm, taking a breath and examining the structural incentives is how you stay grounded. We encourage you to keep those independent, critical thinking skills super sharp.
I could not agree more. Well, my coffee cup is officially empty, but the thinking has definitely just begun.
Same here. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Sip and Talk. If you enjoyed examining all of this with us today, please make sure to subscribe to Sip and Talk wherever you get your audio. And before we sign off, we want to give a huge, warm shout out to our good friend Mickey over on YouTube.
Oh yeah, Mickey's channel is great.
It is. He has an incredible channel called Mickey to Life, and he just put up a fantastic new travel vlog that you absolutely need to check out. It is honestly the perfect palate cleanser after all this heavy geopolitical analysis.
Highly recommend checking his channel out. He always does really great work.
All right, everyone, keep thinking critically, stay curious, and we will see you next time.
See you next time.